On the meeting agenda today, we have ARPA funds, discussion of affected communities and employees. So we had it on our agenda Tuesday night and we kind of didn't talk about. So I wanted to bring up one use of the ARPA funds is bonuses for employees. I was going to suggest that we do a $1,500 bonus this year and next year. This year's bonus to be paid out. Now, there's a question on how soon that can be done. And then next year's be paid out on the second pay schedule in July. Not the first one, but the second one. And to make it so that it's for the firefighters full-time. For call, it would be prorated based on the hours worked with a formula that the chief can and the town accountant can provide the number of hours worked and then determine based on those number of hours the payment. Do the $1,500 for the patrol. Well, for the police department, and would the specials be prorated for the specials as well? For the mixed unit, the same. I know that they might have a part-time summer employee. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they do. Building maintenance, yes.
Okay, so prorated for that position because it's not a full-time position. And then highway. Yeah, so highway cemetery. So $1,500 for each full-time, prorated to any part-time employees. And that's the 4 unions. And then I wanted to discuss everyone else, but I don't know that I have a solution to that today. But that was what I was going to propose for a vote for today, and then ask the board what their thoughts were on wage and personnel and other employees. Do you want to do $1,500 for full-time employees, prorated for the others?
So would you be able to do the same for wage and personnel, $1,500 for your full-timers and prorate the part-timers?
And that's what I'm
Right,
asking.
that's what he just asked.
I think we need to reward the staff for what they've gone through the pandemic and the loyalty they've shown to the town. 1,500. Would it be able to be covered on the ARP?
Yeah, I'm requesting it to come from opera. Holly?
What about the full-time elected officials?
Put them as well.
It's town clerk and highway.
Treasurer, collector, and highway
Yes,
surveyor.
yes, those 3 as well.
What about me? No.
Okay, and Troy.
No, I think it's a great idea.
Is everyone okay with that, doing?
Yes. I think we need to do something, so
As
I
long as
agree.
it can be done without any repercussions.
So all full-time employees,
Or 1,500, and anybody part-time needs to be prorated.
Yep.
And it also includes our full-time elected officials.
okay.
Not to say you shouldn't be doing this, just so you know that it's still extremely rare on the south coast and south shore. The latest tally I had, maybe Brockton has done it, but another, when I queried people, my colleagues in the south shore and south coast, we had 30 no's that they were doing anything at this point. Now, doesn't mean it's not being negotiated or discussed.
Yeah, but out of how many of those 30 did we offer almost zeros to?
I can go to that.
Yeah, so
I'm simply saying
we're kind of a different
there were 30
situation.
that said no, and 10 I haven't gotten an answer from.
I'm fine leading by example on this one.
So the other question would be, how do you handle the school employees? Because they are part, and I know that there's funds available through ESSER there, and we haven't had any discussion with the school committee on that. So how do those employees get treated?
Well, I think you have to find out what you had just talked about first, if
Okay.
there's funds available there,
Okay, so,
and then we can reevaluate the school, but I don't want to keep holding off on the unions and the other employees.
The school is a different nut. The school committee really controls that, right?
Right.
So I would think you would have to meet with them first to find out what and if and what they want to do.
okay. So is everyone, does anybody else have any input?
No.
So my question is then, if we're going to do this, I can figure out, how much this is going to cost us. When would you be looking to do this? It'd be really nice to do it for Christmas.
So I would think as soon as you can
You can get the numbers.
get the numbers, and I don't know if that needs to come back as a full.
I don't know that it needs to. If you
So
want
as
to-
long as you have a warrant for us to sign, it would be paid, right?
Yes. It will go through on a payroll warrant. So maybe not this next pay period, but the pay period after that. I'll have all the figures and then we could get the information out to the departments.
Okay.
Add it to their payroll.
Do you need a motion?
So is there any other things that we should do before, any other discussion points before we vote on this? I don't hear any. So yes, a motion would be good. So
So Sandy, how
So,
fast you can do it
so to
falls
just
on
to-
you.
just to,
She's like, tomorrow.
Well, we just ended one pay period. We just, 3 weeks. Not the next pay period, but the pay period after that. First pay period in October.
so just to, because I have the conflict with signing one payroll, can you guys make a separate motion for the one?
Yeah. Sandy, can you separate it so that we can make a motion for just this on the payroll because he has a conflict with the other payroll?
It,
Or it won't matter because Troy and I will be able to.
After makes a motion, Troy seconds it, and they voted. That's 2 out of the 3, so that's good.
No, you sign whatever you can sign, and you don't sign whatever you can't sign.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
All right,
It has to be a separate motion.
okay. Is there,
Motion?
You want a motion? You want me to motion?
yeah,
So I motion to use ARPA funds to give, you want me to talk the whole thing out? $1,500 bonus for all full-time and full-time elected officials and a prorated bonus for any part-time. One, hopefully first week of October, and then one would be in July of 2022, is what you said?
Then the second pay period.
The second pay period of July. That's my motion.
Through?
That's it? Think so.
I'll second that.
okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, passes. All right, so the next issue is the affected communities. So right now we have, because of COVID restrictions, you have restrictions at the elementary school for masking, and you have issues with humidity and heat there. I would request that we have a motion I'd like to read. So I have a motion to designate $35,000 for engineering consulting for the complete scope of work to upgrade, renovate the Halifax Elementary School HVAC system and building management system. This in-depth and thorough report will provide the current HVAC and building management system analysis with current industry projected costs for upgrades and renovations.
So we're not actually
Correct me
doing
if
air
I'm wrong.
conditioning.
Didn't they do work on the HVAC system over there before?
So they did univent and they did airflow, but one of the biggest issues is the heat and the humidity in the building. And I can say after all of us sitting in the gym and not being able to breathe and everybody going outside to try to breathe with the masks on, I think we need to do something because there isn't going to be any change for the elementary school anytime soon.
Well, those
So this-
kindergarten classrooms
so
are
the-
horrible, let alone the second floor where the heat rises.
Well, the second floor is really bad.
Now, does this have to go through any other committee,
No,
school committee?
no, it would just be an engineering study. And then I'm going to request the same thing, that we evaluate the fire station.
As long as we have it
Aren't they
within
used to the heat? No, I'm just kidding.
As long as it was within our authority to do so, I have no problem with it.
Okay,
So I second.
okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, and then I would make a request to the Director of Facilities and Maintenance to provide the board with an estimate for either
Yes.
engineering or actual cost for the project. For
More
the fire,
than
dep-
one estimate. We asked for
Yep.
usually 3, I think, is how that works.
for the fire department, for reviewing the HVAC system there.
Why, the fire department always in the heat.
That's what I said.
Yep.
You're late to the game.
So I've gone upstairs when it's been really hot up there. The units that they have in there don't necessarily make it comfortable to be in there.
That's the training room, right?
The training room and the cruise quads are up there.
So I would ask that we get an amount from the Director of Facilities Maintenance and then move at our next meeting when we can place it on the agenda, the amount necessary for that.
Have we ever had any estimates done on that before?
So Scott said he did have an estimate from 2 or 3 years ago,
I thought there was,
but he said that with the change in construction costs, he didn't feel that the estimate would hold up.
they wanted $50 for a 2x4.
Yeah, well, I think it
More
dropped
than
down to
that.
$7 now, then it's not 10. So,
When you guys talked about changing, like when we talked about changing what buildings were used for what and all that, the community center, the
Yeah.
senior center, whatever, the fire station's always going to stay the fire station?
so the long-term plan would be to do a public safety building. But right now, that is a long-term plan.
Okay.
That-
Fire department and the police department used to be the same building.
I guess my biggest concern is that we're not going to spend money that won't matter down the line if we're going to change it again.
I think we should upgrade the service there for our employees.
Or I don't want to put money into a building, like I watched Carver do it. They dump money into buildings and then demolish buildings 5 years later. And I'm like,
I don't think that, I mean, Sandy?
So
how-
actually, in all honesty, a combined public safety building probably would be at least 10 years contract.
okay.
So,
It's been something that Sandy, Holly, and the chief and I have been talking about at the building needs meeting.
Right.
I mean, we'd have to purchase land, make plans, get bonded. It's probably 10 years down the road. So I think that would be a good investment to do the fire, what is up there, definitely.
I don't think it's the whole building that needs to be done, because like the office is pretty new. It should, the biggest problem is that the one upstairs doesn't keep up because it's an attic, you know, so looking at that one, I think is important, and then what they call the day room or kitchen, is the other thing, so.
Right.
So we can ask Scott to do that. Get us,
I'm all for it. I was just curious the
Okay.
timeline because I sat in on a couple of those meetings and I wasn't sure where that all fell as far as timeline.
It's going to be quite a ways out, so.
Okay.
So,
So I second it.
okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, so the next item to talk about is, we haven't got a estimate, as far as I know, back for the senior center, for doing the site plan. We haven't heard anything back. But
They're
this,
supposed to have, Scott reached out to Angelo this week, and, he's supposed to have his estimates from the surveys and stuff by today, so
okay.
it's in the works.
So because of COVID-19, the seniors in our community have definitely been affected. They've been isolated. And I will be pushing to use some of the ARPA funds to provide a place. Whether it's, I don't know that we could cover the whole cost of the senior center within the ARPA funds, but I think that we can use a portion of those funds. They are an affected community.
If we can use the
And
funds for that, I think that's
we
great.
should be able to at least fund some of the project to move forward there.
I personally believe that the seniors have been discarded over getting things for the younger kids, the school kids, and which is not a problem, but you gotta remember, the senior citizens are the ones that made this history of the town, made it what it is today. And they should have some,
I totally agree with you. So that's why if we have an estimate soon to do the site plan, that I would ask that we take that up and spend ARPA funds on that so that we can have a place for them to go to.
what is the estimate of the amount of opera funds we will receive?
2.3 million?
But depending on how you're going to characterize it, the affected communities division, which is one of the places it can be spent on, obviously we need to make that connection.
Yep.
We do.
So we definitely have effects from the masking at the elementary school. That's something that's out of our control. And we definitely have isolation in our community because the senior center that we have is not conducive to allowing the population to actually receive the services that they need. So if we can spend some of the funds, we can get the site plan done, we can get the drawing plans moving forward, and hopefully, depending upon the cost, we can get a majority of the project covered under the ARPA funds. So that's, I guess, the discussion point on the ARPA funds that I wanted to bring up.
Just as long as we made it clear that the opera funds can be used for this on
The affected communities.
the community, as long as we make it clear.
Because, I mean, you can spend it on infrastructure, which is limited to water, sewer, and broadband. You can spend it on board money, which you just did a little bit earlier. You can then there's the affected communities area, which is where you seem to be placing more of the emphasis on. And those are all legal reasons to do that. We're gonna have to, when we get audited, which we will be audited, I mean, at a bad rate, everybody's gonna get audited. We're gonna have to have documentation showing why the board, besides the board's minutes, a little more documentation back up what we're talking about.
So at the September 30th Tri-Town meeting with Silver Lake, I know that the conditions at the high school are just as hot in some of those classrooms, so I'd be prepared to have a discussion with the other communities on whether or not they're going to support Silver Lake. Because we were discussing, Charlie and I were the other day, that Silver Lake is not getting, other than the ESSER funds, which are really supposed to be to combat the kids have missed a portion of their education and to try to catch up the kids that are behind. So I would expect that we would see a request to do some sort of air conditioning project or HVAC project at the high school for fresh air and things there as well. But my intent is to try to get the senior center under this as much as possible and work with the school committee on the funding of the HVAC system. But I don't have a request right now without talking to the other towns.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Does anyone else have any?
Do you need a motion about the senior center, or
We don't have a,
we don't, we have to wait for the proposal?
Can we do, like a not to exceed number, so that if he comes in with an amount of, say you made a motion to say, we'll fund the site plan not to exceed $7,500, and then it comes in at 6,000, he can go ahead, and it comes in
Okay.
at 10,000, and then you have to add to it. I'm just thinking, would that expedite?
Well, we have selectmen meetings literally for the next 5
That's true.
Tuesdays and a couple of finance committee meetings. I mean, we're pretty available to have to meet on a 10 o'clock on a Friday morning to make these things happen, so. Are we not?
he was here at
and we-
9:30.
and
That's
you-
why he's looking at us.
And we've been here the last couple of Tuesdays, last 2 Wednesdays. I mean, we show up, we're here to do what we need to do.
Do what it takes to make it happen.
Exactly. We got
Okay.
work to do.
All right.
So
Cindy?
I was going to let you guys know that so far, with the funding of the 15 hours for IT
Yep.
for the rest of this year, and then the 4 additional hours for fire clerical for this year and FY '23, you spent $25,710.70 of the money. Now, I put in it, and this is very optimistic, but for FY '23, I gave an increase of 2% on the fire clerical, so. But I just wanted, I will be keeping track as you guys go along, making these suggestions. I'm going to keep track as to what you're spending on the
Right.
ARPA. And we'll try to qualify it by what pot we're pulling from,
Okay.
as Charlie would say, so that we have an idea.
So when you get
So we
the,
don't overpromise.
when you get the total after the bonuses and after the 35,000 for the school engineering,
Yep.
because that's all we've authorized to spend so far. We're looking for estimates, or else will you give us where we're at?
I will,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I appreciate it.
There any other affected communities that we should be planning for?
Yeah, I can think of, unless you want to do a dog park.
Dog park. I'll let you work on the wording on the dog park.
Well, it's a public service.
So a lot of people got dogs during the pandemic.
Yeah, they did.
I'm glad that you had this meeting, that we have a plan going forward as to what you want to spend the money on, because that was one of the things I was going to suggest, rather than just, oh, we'll give a few hours here and a few hours there, and a few dollars here and a few dollars
Yeah.
there. Is to have a plan. I think the COA is a good plan that would probably eat up a big chunk.
Yeah.
And I definitely understand the HVAC with the schools. The other thing that I was thinking could fall under this, depending on how much money is being eaten up, is the, this room and outfitting it similar to the way the selectmen's meeting room is outfitted, and the possibility of putting in permanent structures over at the elementary school for town meetings, so that we're not spending $8,000 a pop.
Yeah, so
I
we,
don't think they're as high priority as the things that are here. I think they're all, but they are things that should be thought of.
that was one of the items that we talked about in the grant document
Right,
that we submitted.
that, I don't know whether I've heard anything on that.
Yeah, I don't.
Something I do want to follow up on too is when the water commissioner was in, they were talking about cleaning the tank, doing these things. We had offered maybe some funds to help them. From what I see, I'm not sure that the water's gotten any better from our last meeting. I know they needed some time to do what they needed to do. But where Charlie said some of this money could be used for infrastructure and water, I think that's another big high priority in this town is, you know, the kids to school, the seniors to COA, and the water. Those are big things.
I agree with you.
Also, I'd like to talk with Hayward and make sure that there's not any big underlying things in the roads right now.
So one of the issues is that we can't use the ARPA funds for road
What about the
construction.
bridge and stuff? Is that not infrastructure? Like a bridge and that's not infrastructure?
Water, sewer,
Broadband. Okay. I thought you said infrastructure.
no, I know,
Unless you want to run the water line
Through the bridge, under
over the
road.
bridge, then
Well,
replace it.
What would happen if there was a part in our water lines that the roads need to come up, like over near,
well, if you need to repair the water line, yeah, but I don't think you can then again, this is where it goes back to the documentation.
okay. So let's follow up with the water commissioner and make sure he has the right support from us. I know he's
Okay.
new, so.
Because what we know is, as much as it's costing a fair amount of money doing water work, the thing is, we also know, the minute you start reconstructing the road, you're talking a large, you're gonna make that 2.3 million disappear in a couple of days.
In 2.3 miles.
I'm not saying we do the
Less
whole
than that.
town, I'm just saying we had already said that we might be able to help with other things or cleaning, and I don't want to just leave them short, do all these things, and have them come back and say, well, you said you'd help us, and then have nothing left.
No, I think
So I
they'll-
think we should follow up with that.
I think if they come for, they said that they were going to come forward with a plan. They have an engineering firm that they're working with, so if we can spend some of those dollars on water, that's fine.
So it might be good to follow up with them and invite them to one of our next, whatever meeting works for them, of the next 5 Tuesdays, not during the hearing.
Okay? Any other major issues that we can see? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Is there-
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.